Hello, everyone. It is me, Helen B. Hicks. I'm your licensed professional counselor and parent coach, author, podcaster, a whole list of things. Welcome to tonight's webinar, How to Be a Single Parent. So, those of you who may not know me and may be meeting me for the first time, I've been in the behavioral health field for over 30, well, almost 30 years now, and I am the mother of five sons. My oldest is now 30 and my youngest is 13. And I have a great relationship with all five of my sons. And I am here to help teach everyone that I can possibly reach how to achieve the same type of cohesiveness in your parent child relationships. So, tonight, obviously, we are talking about single parenting, and I have been both a single parent and a parented parent, or a partnered parent, I should say. And I've tasted both worlds. And so I am speaking from experience and not just from feedback that I've gotten from clients. So let's dive in. I have lots and lots of information for you. Let me change my view. All right. So the biggest thing that I hear from so many different single parents is, well, I'm by myself, so I have less money, I have less time, I have less energy. And if I just had a partner, if the other parent was here with me, all of this would be different. Not necessarily. As I shared with you before, that I have been both a single and a partnered parent, and it doesn't automatically mean that your finances are going to be as different as you'd like for them to be. It doesn't automatically mean that you're going to have more time for yourself. It doesn't automatically mean that you're going to have more energy to dedicate to whatever other things that are on your list of to dos. So please, first off, do not see yourself as less than, less capable, not as able to be a part of things, not as readily available, simply because you are a single parent. Okay. Next thing. So, as a single mom raising sons, I often heard people say, well, a woman can't raise a man. Mm, I've always kind of challenged that. Because yes, there is an aspect of male development that I don't have experience with. However, when it comes to the characteristics that I would want to see in any man, those characteristics I'm fully capable of embodying. Like, I'm fully capable of protecting my family. I'm fully capable of providing for my family. I'm fully capable of being a great role model and being a leader and being a teacher and having compassion and, prioritizing my family. I'm completely capable of doing and role modeling all of those things. So why can't I raise a man? I say there's no reason why you can't. Single dads out there. And this is what I've heard from a number of my clients. They're being told that because they're men, that they don't have, the nurturing abilities of a mother. So at the bottom of the screen, let me kind of switch this up for you. The definition of nurturing is simply the ability to tune into your child's needs and appropriately meet them. Neither one of these aspects of being a mother or a father, or the lack thereof, is gender specific. Those are things that we have assigned to the idea of being a mom and the idea of being a dad, and not necessarily things that we're incapable of doing. So, as we go a little bit further, so then what is your job as a parent? What are you expected to do? Your job as a parent is to protect, provide, and guide. That's it. And I shouldn't say that's it because that's a lot. That's a lot within itself. But those three things have nothing to do with your gender. So whether you're a single mom or you're a single dad, you are 100% capable of fulfilling the role of the parent that your child needs. Okay. So we're talking about your experience of seeing yourself as less than, but what's your child's experience when you see yourself as less than? When you see yourself as less than, your child first learns, I can't. Because that's what you're demonstrating for them. You're demonstrating that because someone else isn't doing, someone else isn't present, whatever the circumstances may be, you're automatically teaching your child, I can't. And then what are you teaching your child in regards to when life gets hard? What are they supposed to do? How are they supposed to address that? Are you appropriately role modeling for them? How do they do hard things? The next message is my best isn't enough because your children are watching you. They see you struggling. They see you juggling. They see you doing all the different things that you are doing to show up every single day, to put food on the table, to pay the bills. They see this. So they know when you're giving your best and when you're not. And if you are projecting the message that your best isn't good enough, then what are they left to think about themselves? Lastly, the message that you're sending, and I totally understand that these are messages that you are not intentionally sending, but these are the undertones of behaviors and attitudes that you may take on while you're in your single parenting experience. The last one is you're giving your power to someone else to dictate the type of life that you can have. So now you're modeling that for your children that, hey, if you don't have the right person in your life, or sometimes a person in your life, then you can't do these things. You can't have these things. And I know as a single parent, that's not the message that you want to project out there to your children. You want them to feel like they can do anything and everything they set their mind to. And you have to start that by modeling it for them, by being able to show them that it's not about your situation, it's about how you navigate it. So, one of a single parent's most powerful tools is boundaries. Boundaries is that barrier between you and the world. But as you can see in this arrow at the bottom, like boundaries are bi-directional. They go in both ways. So what do I mean by that? Boundaries are there not just to protect you from the outside world coming in, but they're there to also protect the outside world from whatever you have to put out there. This is your separation between you as an individual and everyone else. So, how you set your boundaries is going to impact the amount of energy that you have to dedicate to the things that are important to you. So, a way that I want you to look at self care is a part of that boundary that you are setting to protect yourself from the world. There are times when setting that boundary and protecting yourself is simply saying no. I can't do that. I don't want to do that. I mean, I don't even advocate for people to give reasons as to why they can't do something or they don't want to do something, just to simply set your limit, set your boundary as no. And as I've heard and read and have told people before, no is indeed a complete sentence. When you tell someone no, they know exactly what you're talking about and what your expectation is after you said it. So you do not owe people an explanation. You don't have to go into a long list of reasons as to why you said no, you can't, you won't, whatever. You don't have to do that. Simply saying no can often be enough of a barrier to help protect yourself. I'm sure you guys are also familiar with all the other ways that are available to you to engage in self care, whether that is to pamper yourself, whether it's to sit and read a book, it's just to do something that you enjoy, something that helps you to feel good about you in that moment. Okay, so self care is really important. Another way that I try to encourage people to regard self care is think of yourself as a battery, and everything that you have to do all day long is taking away from that battery. It's draining your battery. So, in order for you to recharge, then you have to put your battery back on the charger. And self care is how you do that. That is how you recharge yourself so that you can re engage with the world the next day, the day after, however often it may be. Okay. So I don't want you to think of self care as being selfish because it's not. And the true definition of being selfish is to impose what you want on other people, not caring about how it affects them. That is the true definition of being selfish. So you are not being selfish by simply taking a break, pulling back, and saying, that's really not working for me. Sometimes people tell me that they're not sure of when they need to set boundaries. And here is the biggest clue that I can give you. If you engage with anyone and you feel uncomfortable about that interaction, then that is a big clue that there is most likely a boundary that needs to be set because there's something about this interaction you are uncomfortable with. So even if you don't know in that moment what kind of boundary you want to set, just being able to think about it and come back to it later or address it the next time that you interact with that person, this is still a huge success. The next part of this is boundaries and expectations. They kind of go together. And they are regards to what you're willing to give to others and what you are also willing to receive from others. So I have a couple of things. It's going to take me a few minutes to get through, so just be patient a little bit. So when it comes to your children, there are certain boundaries that I absolutely advocate for people to enforce and maintain consistently. The one is never sharing adult information with your child. Okay, so when you begin to share adult information with your child, and I understand that this often happens with parents of an only child, like this is your the only child that you have to care for, so you guys tend to develop a tighter bond than parents who have multiple children. And sometimes people tend to interact with that child more like a friend or a sibling, even rather than parent child. And so sometimes you share more information than you probably would in other circumstances. This can be problematic because, again, the parent's job is to protect, provide, and guide. And when you start sharing certain pieces of information with your child that causes them to question your ability to protect, provide, and guide, this is going to hurt the parent child dynamic. Because at some point in time, you're going to want to step back into that parent role and do those things for your child. And if you've said and shared things with your child that causes them to question your ability or your judgment, then they are going to be leery of accepting any type of guidance that you give to them in regards to this matter. Also, if you're sharing with your children in terms of the house finances, how much money you have, how much money you don't have, you're stressed out about bills and all these other things, that leads a child to believe that you cannot properly provide for the child. And a lot of circumstances, children will then seek out their own ways to provide for themselves. Sometimes this can be healthy with them going out and getting a job, and other times it can be unhealthy in the people that they choose to hang around with and the things that they choose to do because they're hanging around with those people. So, these are things that I definitely advise parents to be more cautious of doing. The next thing is age appropriateness. And I mean this in two different ways. Well, primarily in two different ways. One is in regards to if your child is capable of going over to the toy box and taking out that toy and playing with it for 30 minutes, then your child is also capable of picking that toy back up and putting it back in the toy box. There is no reason for you to stress yourself out by having to clean up these huge messes because you've allowed your child to walk away from it without teaching them to clean up after themselves. So, just a little bit of disclosure. Like I said, I have five sons. Around the age of 10 is where I started teaching them to do their own laundry. So now at my youngest two are 13 and 16, at teenage years, they completely do their laundry on their own. I don't tell them when to do their laundry. I don't need to tell them how to do their laundry anymore. They completely understand how to wash their clothes, dry their clothes, put them away. That's something that I can take off my plate. So, looking at what are age appropriate things that you can assign to your child to do so that's less for you to have to do. The other part of this is in regards to having an older child who's then placed in charge of the younger ones because you have to work or you want to go out or whatever may be going on in that situation. Please be cautious of doing this because if you, there's there's a part of this of asking that older child to babysit that is appropriate, but then there's a part of this of putting them in a parentified role that's inappropriate. And part of being in a parentified role is then instructing the oldest to discipline the younger children while they're in his or her care. That I am very leery of. I advise parents not to do that because you're now putting that oldest child on the same level as you. And again, it makes it more difficult when you really have to be in that parent role of protect, provide, and guide. They're less likely to follow your instruction, especially if they've been in that role of parenting and they disagree with how you do it. Okay, so be leery of that. Also, keep in mind that your oldest child did not have children. You did. They still should be allowed to live their life as a teenager or whatever age that they may be, and they shouldn't have to give up their life because you have other children. So, if there are ways to balance this out, and I definitely advise you to work with this, figure it out for yourself. The third thing in regards to boundaries. So, children are very capable of maneuvering, living in two houses, having two sets of rules. The most damaging part of this is one parent disparaging the other. Because now this causes the child to feel like loving the other parent is harming the first one. And that aspect is unfair because every child has a right to love both parents equally. So, as much as your relationship with the other parent may be on the rocks or even non existent, like it is best for you to withhold from disparaging that other parent. Now, if there are situations in which that parent has behaved in certain ways and your child needs support, your child needs you to validate what they're experiencing and how they're feeling. That is totally different than just randomly throwing out pieces of information that make the other parent look bad. Okay. When it comes to other people and those boundaries and expectations, be realistic, be selective, and be in tune with yourself. Okay, so as I said before, if something about this interaction causes you to feel a little bit uncomfortable, that's a sign there's a boundary somewhere that needs to be set. So that's a part of being in tune with yourself. So being realistic and selective is everyone else cannot drop what they're doing to come to your aid because you need something, because you failed to plan, you want to do something last minute. You have to be realistic with your expectations of other people. And you have to be selective because not everyone is willing to show up for you when you want them to show up, how you want them to show up. So you need to be selective about who you're putting in what role and for what reasons. The last thing I want to say in regards to this, because I know there's a lot of people out there that feel, again, uncomfortable with saying no. So I say use fillers. What is a filler? A filler is being able to say something like, hey, look, I need to check our calendar. I need to see when the kids have activities. I'll get back to you. So rather than feeling like you have to immediately commit or reject an invitation, you can put a filler out there, something of let me check my schedule. I'll have to get back to you. So that way you can pause, you can think about it, you can check in and see how you feel about it, and then you can give them an answer later. Okay, so what about you parents who are juggling multiple jobs or just one job that requires a lot of work hours in order for you to make ends meet? It's not about quantity, it's about quality. So you have to be focused and you have to dedicate times of the day, times of the week that are just centered around your children. And those activities, you guys can sit down, you can talk about it, and you can plan them out to make sure that your children are just as involved and they're just as interested and invested in the activity as you are. But it's really, really important that you choose quality over quantity and then you're consistent. So if you are working Monday through Saturday and all you have is Sunday to dedicate time to your children, then you need to be consistent about spending that time with your children. Even if the amount of time tends to fluctuate, because maybe you have a number of other things you'd like to fit in on that Sunday as well, but you need to be consistent because if you say, hey, every Sunday is your day, but then 2 Sundays later you're canceling, then that's sending the message to your child that your child really isn't that important to you. If the other parent is not involved, it's okay. Rather than going into that place that I hear so many parents go into, oh my gosh, I chose this person to be their parent. No, no, you didn't. You chose that person to have sex with, and then later on, you chose to be a parent. You didn't choose that person to be a parent. In order to be a parent, they have to make that choice as well. So do not take on the responsibility of forcing or building a relationship between that other parent and your child. If that person does not want to be there, accept it and move on. Because if you constantly chase that person, harass them, whatever you may do, all you're doing is teaching your child that when it comes to getting someone to love them, getting someone to accept them, to understand them, they have to chase after that. They have to constantly go and seek and beg. And that is not what you want to teach your child about relationships. So, co-parenting. So if the other parent is involved in 100% honesty, co-parenting is a myth for many people. And I mean that in terms of if the two of you were able to be on the same page and openly communicate about so many different things, you'd probably still be together. But the fact that you are not together is a signal that co parenting may not be ideal for your situation. So, as I put at the top, co parenting is typically something that people who are still friends or people who have a healthy relationship can do. They can have those interactions, they can have those conversations, and they can be on the same page because their relationship with each other is healthy. If that is not your situation, then when it comes to co parenting, what you want to focus on are boundaries, rules of engagement and exchange, maintaining your own set of house rules. And when it comes to carrying over consequences, only carrying over the consequences, one, if you know the whole story, and two, if you agree with the lesson that is being taught by implementing those consequences. Okay, so let me go back a little bit. I've already talked a lot about boundaries, and boundaries is about what you're willing to give and what you're willing to receive from others. So you need to be clear with the other parent in terms of what you're willing to give and what you're willing to receive from that parent. Rules of engagement and exchange. So this means you guys need to be on the same page just in terms of how do you share pieces of information? How do you share that, hey, your child has this activity coming up, this sport event is coming up? How do you do that? Are you texting? Are you emailing? Are these all voice calls? Like, you guys need to be on the same page with your style of communication, the acceptable information to share. If there is a designated time to share them, being on the same page or as close to the same page as possible in terms of the exchange of information, also the exchange of the children. So there needs to be some sort of schedule involved with this. Whether the courts are involved or not, there needs to be consistency for the sake of the children. The children need to have a clear understanding of where they're going to be, who they're going to be with, who's taking care of them, what's happening when. Okay, that's for your children. They need that sense of predictability of what's going to happen. So, the last part of this is I have seen parental situations in which one parent has consequenced the child for something, and then the second parent carries over the consequence without necessarily knowing the whole story. And by doing so, they wind up damaging the trust between their child and themselves. So I'm kind of leery about this. Yes, there are times when, yes, it's perfectly okay for you to carry over that consequence because you have a value for whatever that lesson is that's being taught. However, if you don't know the lesson that's being taught, you don't have a value for it, then don't carry over that consequence in the I guess along with being a co-parent if that's not something you truly believe in. Okay, so there are people out there who are or have had successful single parenting experiences. I can definitely testify to, hey, I have absolutely loved my single parent experience. What is the difference? I am my child's or my children's respected figure. And becoming your child's respected figure is how you make your home life so much easier. Now, the things that you absolutely have to keep in mind is respect is not fear, and respect is earned and not owed. So, this is a major thing that a lot of people don't clearly understand. A lot of people think that because I'm the parent, that I am owed a certain amount of respect. So, in a way, I agree that as a parent should get a certain amount of respect, although I don't think respect is really the word I choose to describe that, but I don't have a different word to describe it. But should there be some type of semblance that, hey, this person is in a higher level than me? They have more power than me. They're in a different role than me. And I need to somehow acknowledge that this person is in a higher level than me. Yes, that type of respect. But the idea that this person should do everything that you say because you're the person who's saying it, no. So there's an aspect of respect that has to be earned, and how you fulfill those duties as a parent, how you protect, provide, and guide is how you earn your child's respect. So, what happens when you earn your child's respect? That children trust you as the leader. That means power struggles are gone because they now trust you to lead them to where they need to go in life. There's no more back and forth, or I'll do it later, or, I don't like this, I don't want to do that. Your children become more emotionally stable and they become genuinely invested in the relationship. So now your children aren't just thinking about what they can get in that moment. They're thinking about how do they perpetuate this great relationship that they have with you. So becoming the respected figure for your child is essential to having this wonderful relationship with your child in which it's power struggle free. This means that when you go out into the world and you have to do whatever it is that you have to do over the course of your day at work and interacting with other people, and that stresses you out, now you get to come home and you get to feel free. And this gets to be a stress free environment for you because you come home and your children respect the fact that you've been out there working and striving all day long to come back and to provide for them in the way that you provide for them. And they are welcoming your guidance because they trust you as that leader. Becoming the respected figure opens the door to the kind of parental experience I believe every parent wants. So, my Spark Goals parenting course is how I teach parents the 5 skills that are necessary to become your child's respected figure. I also teach you how to streamline discipline so that it eliminates stress and anxiety for both you and your child. Because discipline is the number one area in which so many parents lose it because you become overwhelmed, you become frustrated, you become embarrassed. You might even feel guilty that your child is behaving the way that they are. And so you get all stressed and worked up, and then you act out of your feelings of being overwhelmed, which then compromises your child's emotional state as well. So I help you streamline discipline so there's not all this other stuff that's happening for you and your child. It goes 1, 2, 3, and we're done. I help you to enhance communication skills between you and your child. So, again, you're having clear communication, which, again, we all know clear communication can eliminate a world of problems. And finally, like I said before, this strengthens your connection between you and your child. So, a bonus for you this weekend for watching this webinar and being here with me is that if you use the coupon code 15 more, you can take an additional 15% off of your first 3 months in my parenting course. Now, my parenting course is only $47 a month. So now you get to take 15% off for your first 3 consecutive months, because if you drop out and you come back, that price will have changed, or at least the coupon will have expired. So, additional 15% off for the first 3 months. And once you join, you will also get a free download of my booklet. So, I have the book, The Parenting Treatment Plan. It is available on Amazon, but for free, you will get a mini version of that. So I really kind of condensed the lessons down. So just in case you're the type of learner who would like to read, you would like to have something to highlight, to make notes on, you absolutely can do that. So I don't know if there are any questions. There are certain formats that I can see questions on, and there are certain formats that I can't. I'll go back here to the QR code. So if you would like to scan this, those will take you directly to my parenting course page where you can sign up. Or if you're not sure if you're ready to sign up, then you absolutely can get on my email list, and I will keep you updated with other webinars and other information that you may find helpful in your parenting journey. Okay. Thank you everyone for being here, and until next time.